Happy Saturday, everybody. June 16th, about 8:30 in the morning. Back over to get some interior stuff continued on into the nitty-gritty of it, and especially up under the dash and stuff. That's going to be no fun in there, but that's the path ahead. Like I had mentioned at the end of my last video, I have some touch-up to do back here, especially in this corner of the B-post in there where it meets the wheel arch. Get that cleaned up, and then I'll start into the floor. That should go pretty fast because it's nice and flat. Probably in between the nooks and crannies there where the emergency brake lever is, that'll get a little painful. Maybe got some welds in there to clean up still, but otherwise I'll continue to move along and then get up interior into the footwells and everything like that. And then I do intend to put the car up on the wings to get the sail covers and everything. That'll be easier to get to when the car's up in the air. That's the path ahead for today. Got about 6 hours over here or so. Got a family engagement again this afternoon, but we'll see how far I get. Before I get going this morning, show you what I use to get all this stuff cleaned up. So I got a bucket obviously there. That's what I'm putting my Dawn dish soap and just warm water in. Paintbrush to try to get some liquid in the nooks and crannies if I need to. Got some lacquer thinner here to help me break up and get rid of the seam sealer that's left over, and then various power and hand tools here to take care of getting the paint scuffed up and the seam sealer out of there and stuff. The wire brush works really well for getting the paint scuffed in the nooks and crannies. The 2-inch angle grinder here, the die grinder here, the angle die grinder with the 2-inch attachment for all the different abrasive wheels and everything that I can put on it. The infamous carbide burr that I use, obviously that would be for getting welds out, and then an air gun just to kind of blow all the dust out, and then various levels of Scotch-Brite pad here. Got a real aggressive one, and then the red ones that I've showed you guys, and then the green ones. The only other thing I don't have out here really is a manual wire brush, but that's what I'm using. So all sorts of means here, chemical, mechanical, and humanical, to try to get stuff out. So there we are. All right, got most of the rear deck cleaned up, or at least as good as I can get it. Inside of the fender wells there are tricky because there's not a whole lot of access, and I dropped a blue towel down in there, and it took me quite a while to get that thing out, so I'm a little leery to clean inside of there, at least too much. So the surface rust will probably stay. I don't want a towel down, getting down in there and then getting wet and just sitting in the seams or whatever nice and damp to promote rust. But anyway, what I do want to work on now is kind of deviate from the cleaning a little bit and start to work on this edge here. I'm not real sure what the proper term for that would be, but there is a piece that's fit here. I don't have it here in the garage, it's at home still, or I'd show it to you. And it's just a trim piece that fits along. You can see all those holes in there, and it just, you know, it's just a finishing trim piece, but it's vinyl or rubber or whatever it is. But you can see where some pitting and everything has happened and gotten inside of there and rusted up a little bit. And if you look kind of close, you can see some ripples and everything in it. The bigger concern, let me see if I can get this on the angle, is if you can see right about where the gas line would be, if you can see that depression right in there. I worked on that a little bit. It's a little bit better than it was. It's a little bit more subtle now. It doesn't look quite as bad actually. But there is definitely a depression and a dent there, and it translates into this spot where you can see, whoop, can't see because I zoomed in too far, where I kind of ground the paint away there. You might be able to see it from here too, a little depression. But I want to try to work on that because I'm going to be banging from the inside and all that stuff, and I'm not real sure how I want to approach this. Just going to stick a dolly in there and maybe a piece of wood or something and try to flatten that out, but we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I want to get that area all cleaned up, so I'm going to get the paint taken off, and then there's some more rust spots and everything because this is probably going to get hit with paint as I epoxy primer out this spot, so I want to get this cleaned up. At the back of the car, looking forward, and I have a level sitting across the back there to show you the dent, because it's kind of, like I had mentioned, it's kind of hard to see, a little subtle. If I zoom in, you can see the distance there that I have to compensate for and to fix. Maybe wasting a little bit of time here to take care of this now. You know, it's what I want to do right now because I think it'll be kind of interesting and fun. First real piece of body work that's a little complicated that I think I'm going to try to attempt here.
So I think what happened is whatever hit right about here and pushed the car down and kind of drew that whole thing into almost like a funnel. So now the trick is, well, how do I undo that? And this is where I have no experience and have no idea on what to do. Bang from underneath here and tend to lift this up, and what I'm hoping it'll do is go like this and lift that hole to go from the depression, excuse me, to lift that whole part up and maybe just kind of bring that whole thing up. So that's what I'm going to try first, and maybe I'll get lucky. The way that I understand it is when you have dents like this, you kind of almost try to re-engineer or reverse what happened. I think some of the problem here is the panel is so big that it's, you know, I mean, the dent may radiate all the way out in here, and that's again where my lack of experience, I don't know, you know, how far out maybe I need to go, but I think the panel is so big that the hammer shots are not going to really make a whole huge bit of difference, but we'll see. See how that bounces around. That's what I'm afraid of, is I'm not really moving any metal here. I'm just making stuff move around a little bit. Let me take some measurements here and see how far it's off. Get all scientific up in here. High precision instrumentation tools. Let's see, so we're looking at about 15 tenths. All right, so another thing I can do here, I didn't really think of that until just now, is you got the base down here where the leaf spring goes in, like the little cutout there where the hump is, and it's not on camera, but believe me, it's right below the sail plate. And so what I think I might try real quick is just to put a piece of wood over top of that, and then get a bottle jack and set the bottle jack up and see if I can press up from underneath here, maybe push this thing up. Let's see how that works. All right, so I got the bottle jack set up. Just put it on a 2x4 there and a little leveling piece of plywood. Not real, great here, but just to try to spread some of the force a little bit onto the car so I don't deform anything down there that I don't think I would. And then I've got it touching right underneath this little crease right here, hopefully right where the dent is. I think the problem I'm going to have here is it's just going to flex. It's not going to really deform permanently, so it's just going to play around a little bit and just come right back, but we'll give it a try and see what happens. I think it's going to work pretty easily and temporarily, but I don't think it's going to stick, so we'll see. Put the level back up there. All right, so I think you can see that pretty well. Pump it up, see what happens. Definitely feel it there. That dent is right on that crease. Alright, so now it's high-sided. If you can see, I'm not touching anymore down at the edges. I don't know if you can see that. Let me look. I'll zoom out here. You might be able to see now I'm high-sided. So I'm obviously deforming the metal in the middle, but it's coming up too high. So now what I'm going to try to do is kind of bang around where that pressure is and try to lower on the outside and hopefully raise in the inside. No idea if that's going to work. All right, pressure's off. Put the level back up. Highly technical measuring stick here, put it right in the center, and it looks definitely better. Yeah, I got a whopping 0.05 inches out of that, but that's a lot better, so pretty happy. Right here, you can feel where that hit. So again, this part right here, this high side needs to lower, and this part hopefully needs to come up. So that's what I'm going to continue to work on. I think the bottle jack served its kind of purpose, but definitely not the solution there. All right, so again, high spot right about there. If I pound that down, put a dolly behind in here to support that, I hopefully pushing this down will bring this up. So I'll put the dolly essentially right on this face to try and push on that a little bit. See if I can't get it to do what I want it to do here. A lot of chipped up paint here and everything, kind of messing up my feel. So I'm going to take that down. Now, one of the things that I've read in the bodywork stuff is it's not, you don't pound the heck out of stuff. It's more like you're having a discussion with the metal to try and, you know, go this way for me, please, kind of thing. And the dolly just kind of keeps everything flat, minimizes the hammer blow points. But there's no need and no desire to beat the heck out of the metal into submission here. I mean, I use that term loosely, you know, putting stuff together and welding stuff up, but in the bodywork phase, from what I understand anyway, and it seems to be working for this part, is you don't really need to beat the metal, especially with stuff that's this soft. I mean, you can push on it and see how much flex I'm getting out of it. So anyway, now the tricky part here again is that this crease, you know, this angle here and this angle here has minimal access on the bottom. Obviously this big sail plate here is easy to get to, but I got to try to straighten that out. So that's where this 3/4 inch piece is going to come in. I'm going to stick it at this angle here to try to push this out. Well, definitely getting better. Maybe not. Alright, so that's still, I mean, that's the point right there where I just made that grease mark. I don't know if you can see that a little bit. That seems to be the point right there where the low spot is. So hopefully I can try to bring that up. I can feel it underneath there. So I think now that what I can do is this wood is too wide, if you can kind of see that. So I think if I maybe cut this only about 1 inch wide and try to get it right in here, maybe about that, and bang from the top, I'll try to just pinpoint the pressure and try to lift it up. Alright, so that's what we're looking at here. Put that right up in that crease. Getting closer. Tell you what, if this is indicative of how long bodywork's going to take, it's going to be a long time. I think I might be there. I got another low spot here, right about there or so. Sometimes just the fingers. Alright, well, I think that might be good enough for now. Lift that up a little bit more. Alright, well, it's about 10:30, so I think I'm going to leave it for now. Definitely better than it was. So you can see that's what I'm looking at now. So looking at it from the front, you can see right here is where that dent still is. but it's definitely straighter across the top. So like I said, in the interest of continuing on with cleaning the inside, I think that'll be more of a minor body work now. I don't need to pound around and everything. I'm going to continue on with the cleaning.
Just before noon, got the seating area done and cleaned up. There's a couple spots that I'm going to hit with vinegar, like that guy right there. Kind of an interesting space for it to pit out. Another one over here. This one makes a little bit more sense because it's sitting there on the flat part of it. Got the burr, carbide burr in there, got those all taken care of. And pretty much from the cross member strengtheners back is done. So now I think it's going to be easier for me to flip the car up and get underneath the dash that way. So that's the way I'm going to approach that. And grab a bite to eat and go for it. Alright, so we're in the passenger's footwell here. I got the car up on the wings tilted so you can see how tight it is. Just not easy to get in there and everything, so it definitely takes some creativity to get to all the little nooks and crannies and all, and the underneath of the dash and all that kind of stuff. Some stuff's okay, but so I got some seam sealer in there. I don't know why that got there, and then I still have all this stuff to get from underneath the battery box. So I got my heat gun. I'm going to use some lacquer thinner and continue to working on that. I don't know if I'm going to roll the car again to get up in here. It's a little easier to work down than up. A little easier to control the water too. So we'll see how it goes. Passenger side footwell is done. At least as good as I'm going to get it. All up inside the bulkhead up there, or the forward sail plate, whatever you want to call that. Got that pretty well. Got that pretty good under there. I'm happy with the way that came out. There's still some residual in there right up underneath the battery box that I can't get. But you can see all the cuts and everything from roughing up the paint, or at least hopefully you can. Now what I'll do is put the car back down, and I think I'm going to rotate it and then flip it back up on this side because it's a little bit easier to work facing this way with all the access here with tools and lights and all that than it is facing the back of the garage. So that'll take a couple minutes. I'll flip it around and get back to work. Well, I got the car turned around. I'll show you this real quick. I glanced over it in my last video. There was a hole here, if you remember correctly. I filled the hole with weld metal. Not too bad of a ding at all, actually. And that should not take a whole lot of work to fix. So I just wanted to point that out. All right, about 3:15 or so, time for me to get out of here. So the interior, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty much prepped for paint. I do want to go over everything else with a red Scotch-Brite. I will do that, and then clean the heck out of it because there's dust, all these nooks and crannies and the seams and all that stuff. So there's a lot of dust and everything that I got to get out of there. But it wasn't too bad, not as bad as I thought. Underneath the dash, I found a couple more holes that I filled with weld metal, but otherwise no surprises under there. And I know it's kind of dark in there, but it's probably the cleanest this car has been in a long time. So got the dash pretty much ready to go also, and let's see, also got this dent most of the way out of the back sail panel there, or sail plate, whatever that's called. So I'm happy with the way that came out. Still some work to do, but not too bad. So that's where I'm going to leave it for the day. I also got some paint chips from Southern Polyurethane. These are the guys that I got my epoxy primer from, and I intend to get everything if I can use their paint. It's kind of hard to see on the camera probably, but you got their dark red on the left, and then a medium, and then their red red. The red is definitely the brightest, but I can't find a good spot on the car anymore. That's a good red. Maybe I'll get lucky with the door or something like that. I haven't checked that. But it's definitely not the dark red, but it may be the red or the medium red. I have to decide and see. I'm not sure if there's a way for me to have somebody scan that and tell me that that's this close to the Triumph signal red. I'm not sure if that's a possibility or not. Something that I'll look into. But otherwise, that's about it for the weekend. So thanks for watching, thanks for liking, and thanks for subscribing. I appreciate everybody's comments and feedback. This is some tedious stuff in here, but the ball's are still rolling pretty good, so I'm happy with the progress that I'm making. Probably not painting the next visit, or maybe even the visit after that, but definitely I definitely see a paint booth getting set up in my near future. So please visit the website, www.roundtailrestoration. As of this video, I'm now 2 visits behind, so I'll try to get them up this weekend. Again, tomorrow's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to everybody that is a father. Obviously, if you're around, you have a father. So happy Father's Day to all of you guys, and I hope you have a good day spending it with family and friends, or more importantly, your kids. So that's all I've got for tonight. Have a good rest of your weekend. Cheers.